Okay, I will call to order our meeting, October 20th, 2025 meeting of the Williamson County Board of Education. Thank everyone for being here. We will begin with recording our attendance, board members. Mr. Driggers.
There are 12 members present.
Thank you. Next order of business is our Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Drayson Beasley, followed by a moment of silence. Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. All right, our next item is items of particular public interest, our public comment period. This evening we have 7 individuals who've signed up to speak. Each of you will have up to 3 minutes if you choose to take it. I will call the first 3 in order, and so please be ready when the person in front of you is finished to walk up to the podium. There is a screen on the podium that will show your time, so please pay attention to that to make sure you stay within the 3 minutes, please. Our first 3 speakers, Holly Allgood, Brad Davis, Hillary Stalker.
Good evening. I'm the parent of a Woodland, Ravenwood, and alumni of the district. I had the privilege of serving the middle school science textbook selection committee last year. That experience solidified my faith and appreciation for the administrative staff and especially the science teachers of our district. This selection process was administered by staff, and this board praised the committee after a report of their work last January. The process for the committee involved signing an oath, creating a strong vision for science in our high-performing district, evaluating texts alongside of representative teachers, interacting with publishers to learn about the resources available. Every science teacher in the district was engaged in a workday for textbook evaluation. We collected feedback from the community, and we finally voted. In the end, the textbook selected for middle school and elementary schools after this rigorous effort was not approved by this board. This has led to several concerns that need your attention. First, the science textbook selection policy did not spell out what happens when the board does not approve of the committee's selection. This board may have overstepped to take that selection, and quite frankly, being part of this committee, the STEM scope text voted in by the board was not considered as rigorous, thorough, or high quality as the other options by the teachers of this district. Secondly, the oath was not signed by the board member who was ex officio to the committee. And finally, the action of the board undermined the committee's comprehensive student-focused work. Knowing that a revision to this textbook selection policy is under consideration, I respectfully request 3 things. That the revision require all members, ex officio and otherwise, of the selection committee sign the required oath to ensure that this oath ensures that members do not have a conflict of interest. Secondly, the new revised policy needs to have deference to the selection committee as intended in TCA 49-6-2207C1. The teachers are the experts in this arena, and as a high-performing district, they have earned that role and the trust of our community. The current policy does not go far enough in protecting the work of the committee, nor does it detail what should happen if the board does not approve the committee's selection. And third, my request is meant as encouragement. Please consider how you will support our science curriculum across the district if and when deficits are noted. Support our teachers and encourage them to voice their concerns. We need them to be able to provide rigorous assessments, hands-on learning, and differentiation as necessary.
Thank you.
This is my third time speaking to you guys as a parent sharing the safety concerns I have for children in Williamson County. And it's clear that there's still confusion on the parental end of the equation. There's also confusion and mixed messages coming from your end as well. I say this because on September 12th, just 5 weeks ago, my wife and I got an email. It's the typical email from our child's principal that has weekly news and events. And in it, it contained a link to a Williamson County Schools published video about student safety that was clearly false and misleading, at least regarding our lived experience with it. The video is titled Time to Talk Threats. It's 2 years old. It's available on YouTube. And it says, and I quote, "There's a new law in Tennessee, and any student who makes a threat of mass violence, that's a threat to 2 or more people, will be sent to the Alternative Learning Center for 180 days, an entire school year." It doesn't say they may be sent or could be sent. It says they will be sent. So if that video is true, why did the student who bullied, attacked, and threatened to murder my daughter and 3 of her friends, why were they immune from the consequences listed in that video? What series of events led to an outcome nobody wanted, where the child with a documented history of violence who had harmed and threatened to murder was protected, while 4 and 9-year-old girls were faced with at least continuous emotional trauma each day as they went to school, and at worst, death. I've been actively trying to find out those answers for the last year, and the only thing I've learned for certain is no one wants to take responsibility for why that disciplinary action was taken. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to take responsibility for doing a root cause analysis to find out what led to the thing that we didn't want. And the video says the school could have done more. Mr. Golden's email to me a few months before says his hands were tied by federal law, and federal law needs to be changed. I spoke with one board member who agreed with the video and said the school system could have done more. I spoke with another who said contact Marsha Blackburn's office. So I contacted Marsha Blackburn's office. She said her staff said it's a local state school issue, not hers. Mr. Golden, I know what you're going to say when you address my remarks. You're going to say something like you appreciate my comments and suggestions on how you can make the school safer, and you're already on top of it. You're doing things every day to make the school safer. But I hope when you say that or something along those lines, I hope you'll excuse me and parents across the county as we roll our eyes and dismiss your comments until you identify exactly what allows violent students with clearly stated murderous intent to harm our children remain at school.
Mr. Davis.
Why couldn't they be sent to alternative learning school?
Time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Hillary Stalker. I'm a local executive board member at High Hopes, a wife of a WCS middle school teacher, and most importantly, a mom to a 5th and 2nd grade student at Sunset Elementary School. I don't tell you all of that to impress you. I just want you to know and paint the picture that, quite frankly, I'm not standing here because I didn't think this was crucially important. I'm missing my son's baseball game to address this. But I stand before you today on behalf of parents and teachers at Sunset who have admitted that they don't have it in them to speak. So I will do so even in my voice and handshake. A year ago, I emailed you, Dr. Golden, citing concerns about Tina Aaron's rhetoric, unapproachable manner, inappropriate interactions with students, parents, and staff. My biggest fear was that we'd lose the best teachers and staff because prior to hiring her, the SES was an idyllic elementary school filled with love, learning, and fun. I got no response. Then in June of 2025, I learned we lost an incredible teacher who quit with no backup plan because she couldn't take it anymore. And worst of all, Christy Serpes was wrongfully terminated. I emailed him again immediately because exactly what I feared was playing out. Still, No response. I tracked down Margie Johnson's email, and it wasn't until I dragged her into it via copying her on old emails that I finally got a response in 1 hour after 8 months. Then an apology from Julie Oyer admitting she had my emails the whole time, and it just slipped through the cracks. Imagine if someone cared enough to respond to me and all the other parents a year ago. My fear of retaliation was the reason I asked Tina not to be in my children's 504 meetings. She called and spent 30 minutes not respecting the law, my request, and pressuring me to let her still come to the meeting. I refused, and Laura LaChance, to her credit, stepped in kindly and respectfully on Tina's behalf. Then Tina continued to spend a morning inappropriately scolding my son, and I called a meeting with Julie, Laura, and Tina. I did get an apology from Tina, and so did my son, but no true resolution on how her behavior will be rectified. It was basically decided that her experience is different than mine, so her behavior can just continue. The reason I'm here today is because as I was sitting at that table, I got Tina and Julie lying to me, and that's what I will not stand for. I have handled this professionally, kindly, patiently, and I'm done. Julie cited that no other parents have complained, which is interesting because I let her know on the spot that I know for a fact it's not true. I've personally received screenshots and been blind copies on emails to Margie and Julie. And since that meeting, 4 more parents have sent letters citing concerns about Tina Aaron's rhetoric inside our school. A former teacher is currently writing a letter not only citing her experience and reason for leaving, but the complaints she's receiving from teachers inside the building currently because they're too afraid to speak up as they're afraid of losing their jobs, similar to Christy. I'll note I did have another meeting, and Tina was fine, but I did tell her I was recording, so do with that what you will. At what point do we hold people of the highest power in central office and schools accountable? At what point do we start listening to the parents who are clearly stating something is wrong? I am calling on you, the board, to investigate the wrongful termination of Christy Serpez, to investigate why no one is responsible for answering parents in the central office in a timely manner, and why Tina Aaron is being given so much slack for her poor behavior, choices, and continues to get multiple chances when something is clearly wrong. Thank you.
Our next 2 speakers are Beverly Purvis and Valerie Dibley.
Good evening, members of the board and fellow community members. My name is Beverly Purvis, and I speak on behalf of the Williamson County Education Association. We stand at a pivotal moment in public education. Across Tennessee, the Advisory Committee on Innovations in K-12 Education, what many call the Freedom to Teach Committee, is examining issues that will shape our schools for years to come. Their work is not just about one bill. It's about the kind of classrooms we want for our children and the kind of future we want for our community. At its heart, freedom to teach means giving educators the trust and flexibility to do what we entered this profession to do, to teach. Right now, we know that our students deserve more than weeks of bubbling in answers that provide feedback long after they've moved on. They deserve instruction tailored to their needs, their interests, and their goals for life beyond graduation. This conversation is also about respect for the expertise of teachers who know their students best. It's about resources, ensuring schools have the tools and support staff to make teaching and learning thrive. And it's about retention, keeping great educators in our classrooms rather than watching them leave because the system makes it harder every year to stay. Which is why later this year, I hope we focus on improving teacher salaries. When I talk to colleagues, one thing comes up again and again. We want to make our district the best place in which to live, teach, and learn. That vision is only possible if decisions made in Nashville and here at home are grounded in the voices of those who teach every day. So tonight I'm asking you as our locally elected leaders to take action. Join us in advocating for legislation that reduces unnecessary testing, strengthens respect for educators, and provides the resources our schools need. Urge the state to listen to educators as this committee continues its work. And here at the district level, commit to policies that lift up rather than limit the work of our teachers. An example of that policy is being discussed tonight about wireless communication devices. The committee formed of parents, teachers, and staff came to a consensus on recommendations to meet the requirements of the law that was passed last year. We ask that you honor the consensus and look to make that policy reflect their recommendations and not make it a completely away for the day, but at least have some cell phone areas in high schools that students can utilize at lunchtimes and not make these drastic changes mid-year. Wait until the next school year. Our students' futures are being written right now. Let's make sure those pages tell a story of trust, opportunity, and success for every child in this community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Valerie Dibley, and I'm here today as the concerned parent of a second grader at Kenrose and an 11th grader at Ravenwood regarding the textbook selection process. I trust physicians with my health, attorneys with legal matters, and accountants with my taxes. I likewise trust our professional educators and subject matter experts to select appropriate and rigorous materials for our students. It is extremely important to me to see the board implement changes to offer the highest level of deference to the appointed committee. Our committed community members who devote time and effort to these committees deserve that consideration. Board members participating in these meetings should be accountable to take the state mandated oath as committee members to ensure transparency. The final vote should require secondary review if the committee choices are not followed. We have a wonderful community that is engaged and interested in the textbook process, and I ask that you consider that community input in making any adjustments to this policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Our final two speakers, Adam Wright and Avery Allen.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I'm Adam Wright. I'm a professor of medicine and biomedical informatics at Vanderbilt. I'm a dad to four current and future WCS students. And my academic research sits at the intersection of health and technology, and I've been honored to serve on the WCS Screen Time Committee for the last couple of months here. I wanted to say that this fall's wireless communication policy is a big step in the right direction, but there are two key improvements that I think we need to see. One of those is going to be moving from a silent and not used standard to an away and off the body standard, and then the other one is moving towards a bell-to-bell K through 12 policy, eliminating the current exception for lunch in high schools. So as a scientist, I believe in using data to make decisions, and I've seen this board use the same value. And so I observed that there's a cognition study from the University of Texas. Adrian Ward showed that participants whose phone was in another room performed better on several cognitive tasks than participants who had their phone sitting on a desk or in their pocket or in a purse or in a backpack. They explained that the mere presence of one's smartphone reduces available cognitive capacity and impairs cognitive functioning. So even though people think they're giving their full attention when they have their phone sitting on their desk or in their pocket, they're really, their mind is somewhere else. So I also think silent but not used can be harder to enforce. There's a kind of game of cat and mouse. But on the other hand, off and away is a simple, unambiguous policy. It's easy to track and enforce, and it avoids the slippery slope of, sorry, teacher, I'm not. It's here, but I'm not using my phone, of course. I also think that lunch is a vital time for socialization and physical activity, not just through K through 8, but also 9th through 12th graders. I recently learned the word fubbing, snubbing people by using your phone when you're supposed to be talking to them. And I was recently observing a field trip and noticed that there were 4 lunch tables. 3 of them were silent. Kids were just using their phones and ignoring each other. And there was one, I guess these were the less phone-oriented kids, and they were having a great time. They were laughing, they were playing spoons, they were singing songs, and you could really see a stark contrast between the phone tables and the non-phone tables. Every school who has reported on this that I've been able to see reported improved social skills, reduced bullying, cafeterias that got a lot noisier as kids switched from to playing card games from watching TikTok videos. I actually couldn't find a single report of a district or school that had gone to an away for the day bell-to-bell policy and expressed any regret. Nobody goes back once they make that decision. This is happening all around us. Arkansas, South Carolina, and Louisiana have adopted these policies statewide, and about 40% of schools have already gone to the bell-to-bell policy, which I think is right for us here. I signed up for this after I saw that Claire Reeves had proposed a new bell-to-bell policy to improve upon what we're already using this fall, and I think this policy clearly addressed the ambiguities and limitations of the current policy, and I hope you guys will adopt this simpler, clearer, cleaner policy that will serve our students better in the long run. I know you guys value, like I do, our students' mental health and safety, and so I think a policy that goes halfway is not what we need. I think the data, the community, this moment all point to the same conclusion that we're ready for a bell-to-bell, away for the day policy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good Good evening. My name is Avery Allen, and I'm honored to be a class of 2023 WCS graduate. My time in Williamson County Schools impacted me in more ways than one, and I am forever grateful for the knowledge, skill set, and personal growth that I gained during these formative years. I'm here tonight to talk about something close to my heart, ensuring no child in our state is hungry. About 58% of Tennessee kids are eligible to receive free or reduced price school meals. This is a fantastic program as hungry kids cannot learn and grow effectively. Unfortunately, according to Feeding America, roughly 3,600 kids, about 5.4%, across Williamson County struggle to access healthy meals. Williamson County Schools has robust food services across schools, providing close to 3 million meals per year. This is a life-changing program and ensures that students have reliable sources of nutrition through school breakfast and lunch. However, when May rolls around, students lose access to these meals when they are out of school for the summer. Some students can access community programs, childcare, and summer camp activities, but this isn't the reality for the 3,600 kids in Williamson County who are food insecure. Luckily, a federal nutrition program called Summer EBT is designed to help. In 2024, this program helped 700,000 kids in Tennessee have access to consistent, healthy meals over the summer just by providing a benefit of $120. Tennessee opted out of this program this year, leaving hundreds of thousands of kids without the accessible healthy meals during the summer. Though the amount may feel small, it goes a long way in alleviating children's summer hunger. Our hope is to bring this program back to Tennessee children and get Governor Lee to opt back in for 2026. Our office has contacted county mayors, engaged local advocates and legislators, and shared the stories of individuals impacted by the loss of summer EBT. We need your voice to get to the governor's ear. We ask that you join our fight to bring this program back to Tennessee by advocating with us, raising awareness, and emphasizing the importance of this program. Together, we can ensure that no child in Tennessee goes hungry next summer. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that concludes our public comment. Before we move on, I want to thank Deputies Whitley and Mock for being here tonight and serving us. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, we will now move on to approval of the agenda. As always, we will do this via voice vote. All those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? You approve. We will now proceed with approval of our consent agenda. There's 3 items on the consent agenda tonight. That's approval of our September 15th school board meeting minutes, board policy for second reading 3.202 emergency preparedness plan, and recommendation for field trip fee request. We'll do this by voice vote as well. Do we have a motion and a second? You can do this by hands. And a motion and a second. Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. With that, the consent agenda as previously read is approved. All right, we will now move on to communications to the board. Mr. Golden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I, as I often do, and it was noted in the public comments, thank our public commenters. I will say that at least a couple of public commenters do deserve a direct conversation, and we'll make sure we have that. I also want to thank some of those others who have spoken. We actually, at the work session, spoke to the adoption of the upcoming adoption of health textbooks and some of our college and career technical education programs. Certainly refer folks to the presentation that our team gave regarding that ongoing process. To just give you a nutshell or a thumbnail, this year's adoption process is relatively small compared to what we experience with ELA or English, language arts, science, mathematics, and social studies. Next year is the social studies adoption. And so we're having some conversations now to try to make sure that we're prepared for that much more involved adoption process. It's more involved at the Tennessee Textbook Commission level, and also at the state board level and the involvement of the Tennessee Department of Education as well. Board members, we also presented to you our draft 5-year capital plan. I just want to give you a reminder that we had a discussion with you about making sure that over these next few weeks as we prepare for the November vote where that will be discussed, certainly feel free to send any questions you have related to the work we've done on preparing that. I did want to also mention a trend that we have seen not just here in Williamson County, but I've also heard from some of our neighbors that especially the kindergarten level, there are fewer students enrolling, and there are some demographic numbers that support that based on state information on ages of children. That is a focus of ours that we're going to continue to work on. With that, I did want to mention to you that Carol Birdsong is standing in the back. And as we traditionally do, we celebrate our state and national championships. And Carol Birdsong will share, if I'm not mistaken, Carol, the first share of these student and staff spotlights for this school year. Is that right? No, we had a few from last month.
Well, we didn't do any last month. We were
Okay.
saving them for this month.
Okay, all right, so I had it right.
You're making me nervous
All
up
right.
here. Okay, not used to getting quizzed. Okay, but we do have state and we have national, y'all. So, quite exciting. Let's start with Sunset Middle School. They have been named the 2024-25 Best Buddies International Outstanding Middle School Chapter of the Year, and Abigail Hartage is their sponsor. So that's your international award for you. Okay, and now we have a national award for you. This is in honor of Page Middle School's. This is for their 8th grade band last year, but this award has just recently occurred. They have been named the 2025 Mark of Excellence Commended Winner by the Foundation for Music Education. And Evan Burton and Carolyn Hankins are their directors. Now, get ready. Lots of sports. These are state awards. We are going to start with Woodland Middle School, and the girls' tennis team is your Tennessee Middle School Athletic Association state champions, and the team consists of May Kraust, Suhana Dayaminihali, Olivia Young, Eva Shruji, Macy McLaughlin, Coco Davis, and Ruby Miller. Their coach is Lynn Broski. And then over at Heritage Middle School, we have Asher Salmon, and he is your Tennessee Middle School Athletic Association Boys Class 3A Cross Country Individual State Champ. And Jacob Connors is Asher's coach. We also have the girls' state championship, and this is Scott Lindsaybo, and she is your state champ, Class 3A. Her coach is Vince Kabisak? I'm not sure about Vince's last name. But anyway, congratulations to Scotland and her coach. And then we have the boys Class 2A cross-country state champs, Legacy Middle School. Their team members are Brooks Bichon, Will Heyman, Riggs Johnson, Matthew Kritz, Lincoln Moore, Rhett Smith, and Hudson Zapp. Daniel Stiles is their coach. And here we go with Woodland Middle School again. Boys, Class 3A cross-country state champions. Matthew Allgood, Oliver Brown, Ty Burton, Ryder Chapman, Adam Johnson, Jack Johnson, and William Thursby. Their coaches are Andrew Swanson and Emily Lucas. High school golf, Page High School golf. Your TSSAA Class 2A Girls Golf State Champs. Team members include Elizabeth McCann, Stella Edwards, Brooke Bennett, and Sushi Aker. Their coach is James Eichhoff. Now for some state staff spotlight. Hold on just one moment. This is Chris Sanders, and he is your TSSAA Boys Golf Coach of the Year from Brentwood High School. And now, Superintendent Golden, these are some that we have been, well, my goodness, Pam Baden may come after us for that picture, but she is quite proud of her team. And that is not Ricky Rodriguez there. That must be Ricky that Pam is celebrating. Anyway, from Ravenwood High School, TSSAA Girls Flag Football Coach of the Year. And then Wrestling Coach of the Year, Pete Miller from Summit High School. Congratulations to all of our students and staff members.
Thank you, Carol. And Mr. Chair, I did want to mention, I noticed we have a number of scouts in the building, and I want to welcome you all. You're working on some badge or another. I'm not sure. Well, I got a few nods, so I hope this helps with your work towards badging. Also, we have a number of principals, and I want to thank you all as well for being present here tonight. With that, Mr. Chair, that is my report.
Thank you. Scouts, why don't you stand up and be recognized? All right, we're glad you're here. Okay, we will dispense with the board chair report and move right into new business. The first item under new business is we have 3 items under 25-26 school board budget. First one is approval of the general purpose school fund amendment 10.25 special schools transportation reimbursement in the amount of $136,618. Mr. Golden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a special education grant for transportation. We do recommend approval to receive the funds and place the funds in the appropriate expenditure lines.
All right, thank you for that. Do we have a motion and a second? Thank you. Any questions or discussion? All right, let's proceed to a vote.
The vote is 12 yes, 0 no.
All right, the item is approved. Next item is approval of the general purpose school fund resolution 11.25 for buses in the amount of $3,184,000. Mr. Golden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you all know, annually we come to you with replacement requests for our school buses. Those school buses generally have a life of from 15 to 18 years, depending on mileage and condition of the buses. Mr. King did some detailed work with our transportation department and is recommending replacement purchase of 8 buses, 8 general education buses, 7 special education buses, and 4 growth buses for special education. That includes a net reduction in our total fleet of general education buses. Do recommend approval for this year's bus purchase.
Thank you for that. We have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote.
The vote is 12 yes, 0 no.
The resolution is approved. Next, we have approval of the general purpose school fund resolution 11.25 inter-category transfer for salary for 2025-26 in the amount of $12,465,616. Mr. Golden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is the annual placement of the pay increase for our faculty and staff approved by the county commission into the appropriate line items. Do recommend approval.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, we are ready to vote.
The vote is 12 yes, 0 no.
Resolution is approved. All right, we'll now move on to board policies, both of these for first reading. The first one is policy 4.401, textbooks and instructional materials. Mr. Galbraith, do you want to give any readout there from the policy committee, or Ms. Alsbrooks or Mr. Golden? I'm not sure how you guys want to handle that.
We had quite the discussion both at the policy meeting and the work session. I think the gist is this is I think we had all agreed to review this. Again, we waited, gave a little bit of time to allow some time to pass after, which is why you'll see in the request, Mr. Bostic's request was in March, and we agreed with him to kind of bring this back at a later time. So I think the gist of the changes are that we're kind of specifying the committee makeup and then describing a little bit better the process for the information that we're going to get. But I don't know. Well, I think we can talk about it more. But that's it.
I don't know, Mr. Bostic, you had brought this forward. Do you have any comments you want to share tonight, or want to move on?
Nothing other than just, when I put this forward for some changes, because we all had kind of agreed, from the last time that we were just some changes that we would make, and trying to bring it closer between the board and the teachers and the committee throughout the process, just keep the communication open so we can understand more of their thinking and they can understand more of kind of like what our questions are, what we're looking for, and bridge that gap a little bit. So that's kind of the heart behind it. Yeah, that's kind of basically all I have at this point, unless we want to get in discussion for it.
All right.
I do have a question though, or do you want me to wait until we?
Go ahead.
Because I know people have kind of brought up the committee oath, and one of the things about the this policy change is that really any board member could be a part as an ex officio, serve as an ex officio member of the committee. Is there Jason, maybe this is a better question for you. Is there a big difference in the oath that we take versus the oath that a committee would take? Is it redundant, or is there a big gap there? Is there something we're missing if we don't take the oath?
Those oaths are different, and I may defer to Ms. Osbrooks as well on some detail. But you all as board members take an oath, and you have commitments that are built into policy that you will make the best decisions based on the information you have, and in addition to that key component, which is uphold the Constitution of the U.S. and Tennessee. So I'm going to give my interpretation, Dane, and you correct me if you think this is inaccurate. For each vote you have that obligation regardless of the content. And now that committee does have a more specific commitment to that particular process. I did want to mention one other item. The conflict of interest was mentioned. You all do have an obligation to disclose financial conflicts of interest in your votes, in any vote. So if the board asks, we will do a deep double check, and so I'm going to refer to Dana on that.
Happy to look at it, but as superintendent and have a deeper discussion at the next policy committee meeting in November. But as Superintendent Golden mentioned, you're in policy and state law, you already have many obligations that you've got to disclose, ethical obligations, particularly regarding finances. And I will also remind you, and you know this, every year, in addition to any obligations that you would need to let us know, you also file with the state of Tennessee a disclosure of your finances and where you are receiving money. That, again, I can compare and see if there's any language we want to add, but at first glance, you already have that obligation under other laws.
Ms. Wyatt?
Thank you. I just want to say I do support that deep double check. Thank you for offering that. I mentioned this in the work session, and I know we heard it here tonight, that I would be in support of adding the oath just because to show our alignment with that shared work, the school board members that choose to be on the textbook committee. Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments? As noted, this is first reading, so this will go back to Policy Committee for a second review and back to us for second reading in November. Mr. Bosch?
Decide to add that oath, which I'm kind of fine with either way, is that something we would want to detail out in the policy? Or is that just like a SOP or something that we would do? That's an oath you should
Yeah.
recommend for the next one or something.
So my recommendation, if that is something that you want to add, is that we make it clear in the policy that it would be members of the committee who aren't board members, who don't have that obligation, but board members as well. So
Gotcha.
that can be, if that is, I'll have some proposed language for y'all to look at. If you want to add it, we definitely can do that.
Great. All right, any other questions or comments? All right, we're ready to vote on first reading.
The vote is 12 yes, 0 no.
Okay, that policy language is adopted on first reading. Next item is policy 6.312, use of wireless communication devices. Mr. Galbraith, do you want to also give a readout where we stand with that from Policy Committee?
Yes, sir. As soon as I get there. So we have a proposed update to the wireless communication device that I guess I'll probably Claire's speaking first, so I'll just let her talk to it. I mean it has a couple of differences from the current policy. Not to mention, I guess specifically it went into detail around a couple of things, as one of the speakers said, around the committee discussion about off the body, and then it is intended to go away for the day for all students, including the 9 through 12. So that's where it sits today.
So like we did before, for explanation purposes, since you brought it forward, Dr. Reeves, do you want to give an explanation, and then we'll move into the order of speakers on the board?
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we did get feedback from the Tech Use Committee. They prioritized evaluating the policy that we passed in June and gave us feedback on changes that they would like to see incorporated into the policy. So I took that feedback and I addressed every point that they had brought forward and wrote it into the policy. The one place where I differed with the committee's recommendation was on keeping lunch for 9th through 12th grade as a time when those students could use their wireless devices. I feel very strongly that the data shows that a way for the day policy promotes the strongest possible school culture, and as one of our committee members here tonight spoke to, every school district and state that has gone in the direction of a way for the day for K through 12th grade has reported nothing but positive results, from improving academic outcome to reducing disciplinary referrals and bullying, to creating an overall general positive school culture where the kids are actively socializing and talking and engaging with each other, which is exactly what we want students to do. So I do want to, I really listened to what my fellow board members had to say at the work session, and I heard some of you say that you were concerned about the timing of implementation. So if we pass this policy, it would go into effect immediately upon second reading. And so I would like to propose an amendment to the policy. So I'd like to make a motion to amend, if that's...
Well, so that was really for explanation purposes. So if you
Okay.
want to go in the queue,
Okay.
we've got somebody on the board already for recognition. So if you want to get in the queue for recognition and bring the amendment at that point.
Sure.
Okay.
Josh, I just canceled mine so she can go.
Okay. All right. So Okay, so do you want to be recognized for an amendment?
Sure.
Okay, please.
Sure. And I think, it speaks to what Ms. Wyatt said at the work session, and so I heard your concerns and heard some of the concerns from emails that came in. So it's the timeline. And we want to give the district time to be able to come up with ways maybe to provide that parent-student communication either via email or some other method. So the motion to amend would be to add on line 3 after devices by K through 12 students, and will take effect August 1st, 2026. So the entire first sentence would read, this policy is required by Tennessee law and establishes clear and consistent expectations for the possession and use of personal wireless communication devices by K through 12 students, and will take effect August 1st, 2026.
Okay, have you heard the amendment? Have you heard everyone's clear on the amendment? That is a proper motion. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Galbraith. I'm sorry, Dr. Dreger's on the board. Any discussion of the amendment? Mr. Cash.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a first reading. We've got feedback on many issues. I believe this is the right kind of policy we're looking for, but I think there's wiggle room here and there. Why are we making amendments to the policy here when it's the first reading and we're going to be meeting on this again? I don't think it's, we've got 4 policy members led by Jay Galbraith, who's doing a great job. We have our attendants, superintendents, and staff members in these meetings. We had 8 board members at our policy meeting that sent this forward, knowing that there was going to be some adjustments possibly in the second reading. So I just don't know why we can't talk about it at that point, rather than have amendments and counter amendments or whatever. I mean, that's just my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Wyatt?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it's important to move forward with this amendment right now just to help our staff with their timing. We've discussed a lot of different ideas and different solutions that could work, and I think if we want to have this be a successful bell-to-bell policy for next school year, some of these things we need to start working on now. And I don't think that the feedback or the data is going to change in a month, so I think it makes sense to move forward now, and that way we at least have an agreed upon timeline. A couple of the things that I was going to say with a similar amendment were that I'm one of 2 board members on the Screen Time Committee. The committee is made up of parents, teachers, administrators, and 2 board members. We've met 4 times and spent 2 consecutive meetings talking about this cell phone policy. Those meetings were our August and September meetings, and it was helpful to hear from so many as the new policy went into effect this school year. In response to the information requested by the committee, all 9 of our high school principals asked that we not restrict cell phones during lunch and that we not make any changes to the policy in mid-year. Additionally, the committee discussion, made up of parents, teachers, and administrators, was in agreement with that request from the 9 high school principals not to make changes in the policy in mid-year that would restrict phone usage during lunch for grades 9 through 12. I have researched what other schools are doing, and the majority of schools with bell-to-bell policies have student email accounts that allow students to send outside emails to parents, employers, coaches, and check their college application status. Our current WCS student email accounts cannot do that. One of our strategic goals is preparing students for life after Williamson County schools, and I think it is reasonable that they have access outside of Williamson County schools to access through their phones during a limited time each day. They are learning to manage their time, their family obligations, and their future opportunities. An enhanced Williamson County Schools email account would allow our students access to outside people, and we could consider restricting the phones or move forward with restricting them for next school year. But to follow up, Dan, I just feel like we need a lot of time to work on those systems based on the comments from last week. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I recognize Mr. Cash, can we bring back up the language on the screen for everyone, please? All right. Thank you. Mr. Cash?
Mr. Chair, I agree with you 100%, and I think there's more than just the timeline or just the emails we need to talk about. We need to talk about maybe an area, a designated area for the kids. And I'd like to see something done about the school buses because, you know, they're on the bus 20 minutes to up to 45 minutes on average, where there's absolutely no adults, no nothing, watching what's going on the phone. And those are answers, but what I'm saying is, I believe every board member here has heard these issues. And a lot of them carry a lot of weight. So, but that's what we have the first reading for, is to put this down and go back to the second reading and put this in place. So I was just saying, this is one step that doesn't generally happen when it comes to policy. So we're going to sit here and talk about, you know, you can't take the time to talk about the ins and outs and all that like we can in a policy meeting, is what I'm saying. So that's why I said that, but I do agree. So thank you.
Okay, Ms. Hibma.
Yeah, I agree with Melissa as well, listening to the parents and especially knowing that the private schools, those students have access for, you know, those same type of reasons to be able to communicate outside during the school day. And so then on Saturday, I talked to Brian King, and he sent the school board an email, you know, saying that he's going to be working on addressing those issues. And then I also brought up some other issues like, what was the other issues? I can't think of them right now, that we discussed in the work session. And he's going to work on that. And it might take a little time, but, and you guys all got the email. So yeah, I think we're moving forward, and that's about all I want to say.
Thank you. Mr. Galbraith?
So Dan, I want to address your question, at least my perception of it, and it was essentially to save us from a lot of discussion that we had on Thursday night that hoped to. I think this is Claire's thoughts, because I had the same thing, but not to get into whether we're going to do it on January, not make that the focal point and make the overall policy the focal point, and from not just tonight, but then like moving into the next board meeting. So if we all agree, that was my thought.
I just hate to set a precedent. Yeah, that's good. Move on.
Order.
Yes.
While I appreciate the motion to amend on the floor, parts of this policy, the current portions of the policy are struck out. So just by changing the date of implementation, we would not have anything to implement until the end of the school year. So I do want to make that clear, that section right there, that thing that Mr. McNeese has brought up. So there will have to be discussion in the policy meeting about what we're doing for the rest of this school year. Okay?
Well, you're going to be recognized next, Dr. Reeves, so you can answer this question, but it certainly seems, based on the amendment language you offered, that it's delaying the entire policy until August 1st, not just any one portion of it. Is that correct?
So with that motion, would the current policy remain? Do we need to add that to her motion?
Wouldn't it remain by definition?
Okay. Yes. Okay.
Okay, you're recognized.
And so, just to reiterate, Mr. Cash, after our discussion at the work session and really thinking about it and hearing what people had to say, I felt like it was important to give some board members reassurance tonight. I understand it's unusual to make a motion to amend on first reading because we could easily have the discussions at the policy meeting next month, but I wanted to reassure those board members that I had heard them and was willing to make a change there. So one last thing I do want to leave everyone with is I wanted to show this. This is a piece of artwork that was on display at the Frist Museum in 2023. And it's, the Frist Museum will display artwork from Tennessee public school students. And this piece of art was produced by Katie Hallmark at Rossview High School in Clarksville. And it really struck me at the time when I saw it. I took a picture of it. And she titled it Sucked In. And it's a picture of a student or an adolescent with her phone and strings coming out. And the body is a genie. She's being sucked into the phone. Our students on some level know how addictive these devices are. And so as we move into second reading, I hope you all will approve the amendment tonight, that we will pass this policy into second reading. And let's not forget that the phones, the apps, they're designed to be addictive. And research is showing that there are changes happening to our kids' brains that are similar to what happens in drug addicts' brains. So let's not forget that as we continue to discuss this policy. I'd like to call the question. Is that how you? No, I can't.
Well, not at this point.
Okay.
You could have before you started. Sorry.
Okay.
Mr. Welch.
Thank you. Claire, I appreciate you doing this. I think it's a good amendment, and I can support it. My only question is the timing. Would it be better to defer consideration and then vote on these changes as we get closer? It just strikes me as a little bit odd. We're going to pass a policy now, but doesn't go in effect till later, but we're going to keep the old one. That's the only thing that's confusing for me. But if you can sort of assure me on that, it's not a hill I want to die on, but it just seems an odd sort of timing as opposed to sort of deferring the vote until a little bit later, and then perhaps there's even additional amendments or tweaks or changes that we get out of the technology committee to add to this as well. The substance of it, though, I don't have any issue now with, well, we haven't passed the amendment yet, but if and when at that point.
So I think on the substance of what you're asking, I think there's a couple of things. One is effectively, if the policy were to be moved on to second reading as written, it's effectively a deferral to the next month, even though it's taken us to second reading. So it is giving us the additional chance to discuss that policy and at another work session. So effectively, there would be a deferral there, but officially, if there was a desire to defer it, there'd have to be a motion to defer until a date certain.
I'm not going to do that tonight, but it's maybe for second reading to deferring it to then.
One thing I'm going to mention, not as chairman, just as a board member, and Dr. Reeves is going to be recognized in a second. You might be in a position to answer this. It seems to me there's really two issues at play here. One is the issue of the timing of it, which we were addressing now. And then the other issue is the substance of it. And in particular, the substance of the part about the lunch, whether or not to allow it for lunch, the lunch period, which is the thing that I think, based on work session and based on previous conversations, has been the thing that's gotten the most discussion. Effectively, this is what I was asking for it to come back up on the board, because effectively, if we approve this on first reading as written with the August 1 date, we're essentially saying that we're agreeing as a board to that provision about lunch, right? Is that your understanding? that we're agreeing on first reading to not allow the phones during the lunch period.
On first reading, yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think the issue for me, just personally, again, is I'm personally okay with the high school students having their phones during the lunch period. I think it's a reasonable thing to do. I think there's reasons to do that. I know there's difference of opinion about that. And I have great respect for the work that you've done in writing this policy, because you've spent a lot of time on it, and very thoughtfully looked at this and presented really thoughtful arguments. So that's just the one issue for me, is that provision. If we vote to agree to the policy as written, we're agreeing that is going to be something that we're going to definitively do next school year. And I'm not personally prepared to do that. I don't disagree with the timing, delaying the timing and giving us more time to consider this and think through it. That's just that one part of the language is the part that I'm struggling with. Ms. Clements.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I like you, I struggle a little bit with the lunch issue, simply because I want the kids to be able to get an email from their parents if their parents need, or I just want them to have that ability to communicate. What we've seen what we talked about, the private schools have that. And the other thing I want to encourage us all to do, and I'm going to try to get back to another one of the high schools in my area, but as I shared at the work session, I went to Franklin High Lunch, and I was there for both periods, and I was pleasantly surprised. I didn't see many kids on their phones at all, I was very pleasantly surprised on that. But I would encourage you guys between now and next month to get to your high schools, talk to your principals, and try to create that dialogue with the principals to understand the functionality of this. And but I agree. I see everyone moving further and further away from the phones and having less of the phone at their school, but with their kids. So anyways, that was my encouragement, is that we can get back into the high schools and visit and talk with the principals.
Mr. Galbraith.
Chair, I just want to speak to the process, and when we go to second reading for the policy committee, the way we've handled these things is, yes, the policy as written with total away for the day and the August effective date would come before us in the second reading, but then we would discuss at the policy meeting, and if we can get a consensus there, that the policy we'll basically decide there what we bring back to the board. So and we typically have a pretty good turnout of the board. So I think we can get a pretty good feel of where we should go with, if we agree that the policy should be effective August 1st and not January, then we can agree on the substance, on the details, that what we bring back. So I think we'll have a pretty good idea once we get back to second reading on what that should be.
Dr. Reeves?
Now I'd like to call the question.
All right, that's a proper motion. It's not a debatable motion, so we will move straight to a vote on the amendment, which again, would you mind restating it just for the purpose of getting us clarity and as we're about to vote?
Sure. Let me just make sure I have it.
Can we bring that back up on the screen one more time? I'm sorry.
So I move to amend the policy so that the first sentence reads as follows. This policy is required by Tennessee law and establishes clear and consistent explanations for the possession and use of personal wireless communication devices by K through 12 students and will take effect August 1st, 2026.
All right, thank you. I should have asked, is there any objection to the question? Seeing none. Just want to make that official. All right, so we will now move to a vote on the amendment as stated. Mr. Golden, do you have a Any input on that?
I do have a recommendation with a caveat that is actually in the form of a question for our attorneys, just to make sure. With the caveat that a vote tonight does not commit the board to a particular content vote at the next meeting.
No, they can be amended again.
Okay, so with that caveat, I do recommend approval of this amendment.
All right, thank you. So is everyone clear on what we're voting on? We're voting on the amendment brought by Dr. Reeves. Is everyone clear on that? Okay. We are ready to vote.
The vote is 11 yes, 1 no.
All right, the amendment carries. We're now back on the main motion, which is the policy as amended. So any questions? We have our original motion and our original second. Any questions on the policy as amended? Again, first reading with the clarity that there will be opportunities for further changes at the next board meeting if the board desires. Any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, we're ready to vote.
The vote is 11 yes, 1 no.
All right, the motion carries on first reading. All right, we will now move on to item C, approval of textbook committee. Mr. Golden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you all know, we have brought to you a proposed textbook committee for that adoption cycle that I mentioned. I actually did not mention PE, health science, and some CTE courses. You all, as board members, based on our discussion at our last month's work session, many of you included some recommendations for parents to participate in the committee. Dr. Allen's memo includes the name of seven parent nominees, but we actually have 12 in the actual document, so I wanted to mention that detail. Do recommend approval of the textbook committee for this year's adoption.
All right, thank you for that. Do we have a motion and a second? Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, we're ready to vote.
The vote is 12 yes, 0 no.
All right, the committee membership is approved. Item D, approval of the 25-26 superintendent and district goals. Mr. Golden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Based on the discussion that we've had the last 2 months at our board work session, we do have recommended superintendent goals for this current school year. I did want to acknowledge and thank you for some of your comments made, especially at the work session. Specifically, Dr. Johnson, thank you for your specific recommendations. I am of the opinion that some of your specific recommendations in if not necessarily this, excuse me, if not necessarily the specific numbers, but the concepts are something that I think we ought to be talking about, especially for next year. I did want to specifically mention that each one of these 4 that you all talked about at the previous work session includes deliverables that are the product of that discussion that we had back in September. So with that, I do recommend approval.
All right, thank you. And thanks for the thought and the time you put into preparing those goals, and certainly appreciate the input of the board. We have a motion and a second. Dr. Johnson.
Thank you. Did we ever get an estimate of how much the salary study is going to cost?
We don't have an excellently clear estimate, but we have a minimum $40,000.
And do we already have that budgeted, or
We
have to come back and approve that?
We will need to, once we get an actual vendor, we will actually come with a request for a motion to move from fund balance to that, is my anticipation based on my conversation with Ms. Farmer.
So with that in mind, I'm going to make a motion to strike goal number 1 from his goals.
Okay. Do you have any explanation you want to provide to that or context?
I'm just afraid that it's going to almost put us in a catch-22 because, what if it comes back and it costs $200,000 or it costs, and I really would not want to obligate us to say we're going to approve that because it's his goal. And I wouldn't want us to look like we weren't supporting him if we say, well, we're not going to approve $200,000 or, whatever the amount is. So that's my big concern. I'm just afraid that one's going to cost us money, and I don't know if we want to spend it. And yeah, it's just a messy one a little bit to me.
Mr. Golden, based on previous studies that are similar in nature, do you have any sort of sense of the range we might be talking about? I know you said 40,000 on the low end. Is there a?
Point of order, if I may.
Yeah.
Do we need a second for? Then we can discuss that after.
Fair enough. Is there a second on the motion? Okay, we have a second. So I'll restate my question. Is there any history that you can give as far as other examples of studies that we've done recently where you have a sense of a range that we might be looking at there?
I'm going to actually defer to both Ms. Farmer and Ms. Hall related to that. I will give you the 40,000, the source of the 40,000 number. That's based on a conversation we had with county government. They went through a study for county government jobs. School jobs are different. And that's why I anticipated that 40,000 is a minimum. And so, Ms. Farmer, Ms. Hall, anything else you can add to that to give another parameter above that 40,000?
I don't know for sure because we still are drafting the RFP, but would want to get that out if that's approved by the board. I do think. I really don't know yet because we haven't gotten anything back, but I would say that 40 is definitely on the low end. I could see it going maybe 100, but I'm really ballparking.
All right, thank you. Mr. Welch?
If it did come back, as Dr. Johnson said, the 200,000, I know that's a number you were just throwing, right, I know, but the board would have to approve that before moving forward still, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other, Mr. Galbraith?
Sure. I guess I definitely want to leave it. I don't want to. I think in order to, I think we all want to understand how competitive our compensation is. We've all talked about increasing our compensation. When we do increase our compensation, I think we just approved a $12.5 million 2% raise. It's going to be in the millions of dollars, and I mean it's just we have to do our diligence to figure out what that's going to be. I mean that costs money, unfortunately, but I would want to know. I think the salary study was pretty effective for the county to get support from the county commission for its raises last year, and I think we need to do the same and follow suit. So I'm not saying whatever it costs that we would do it. I think we could agree. I think there's definitely a scope of a study that this board can approve that we could find for the appropriate price that we can figure out something to do, and I think we would much rather do that than to not. And so I think with this meeting, what we're doing is we're saying that we're committing to looking into the study. You'll coming back and we'll agree on the scope and the price, and we'll move forward to let you support your work in doing this. So,
Ms. Hall, are you talked about an RFP? Are we, the district, obligated to go with the low bidder in that, and when the proposals come back in, or do you have a choice?
I yield to Ms. Farmer for that.
So with an RFP, there are different variables that can go into it, and the price is one of those. And so not necessarily with a bid, you would go with the lowest bid, but there are other variables that play into the RFP. And so that will be one of the evaluating points. And as Mr. Welch said, we will go through the process, and then once we have a recommendation off of that, we would bring it back to you for your final approval. So you, at that point in time, you could say, we're not going, we don't agree with this, and then we would not award the contract.
And in that particular RFP, what weighting does price get?
It'll depend on how we write it. And so we're still
Oh,
in
so
the
it's not been
process.
issued yet. Okay,
Correct.
thank you. Mr. Bostic.
A question first. So is the goal as written, because the deliverable is a professional salary study document with recommendations, which I would assume we would want by May?
Yes, sir.
June?
That May would
When
be
we have to
my-
evaluate, you.
Yeah.
So is that timeline even feasible at this point? Do we have an idea at all?
We believe it would be. Sorry.
Yeah, no, we will go through the process, and so we're probably not looking to actually being able to award or going through until November. And so it does back things up, but could the work be done? We do think that it's still doable.
Basically 6 months,
Gotcha. Okay.
maybe a tiny bit less.
Yeah, I guess what I kind of understand and what I think Margie is getting at, which I agree with Jay and I agree with Margie on this in a different way maybe, but is I would hate to have this goal be that when we have to evaluate you coming, that the deliverable is a professional salary study document with recommendations. And if we don't have it, then that's a zero in my mind,
Sure.
Not to forecast everybody, but so I don't know if maybe we should change maybe the deliverable on it slightly. I don't want to set you up for failure in some sense because, and I know we talked about this a little bit at the work session too, but it's like when we actually get these goals done, it's like, all right, you got like 4 months really to knock it out. By the time, we vote on it in November, then we go for Thanksgiving, then it's Christmas break, and then it's like, hey, we're in a mad dash till the end, and we're going to evaluate it in June. So, and I think that's what Margie's getting at. I definitely want us to move forward with it. I just wonder if instead of, and maybe this is the wrong discussion to have, it's on the amendment, I don't know. But maybe we need to, instead of remove the goal, maybe alter it slightly to keep the process of it moving forward, but to also not be like, I don't want to have to give a zero if we don't have it. And that was the whole thing. So that's where I'm at.
Well, if I may, Mr. Chair, my plan based on this and the timing of the goals would be we would include in the RFP a final date for it actually being delivered. Might that influence a particular provider not to make a proposal? I can't speak to that. It's possible. I will tell you all that if in our analysis with all these providers, we get all of them saying, this timeline just won't work for us with our business, we bring it back to you. But I want to specifically thank you. I was thinking about that when I mentioned Dr. Johnson in the discussion we had at the work session. Thank you for those comments related to the goals. We spoke to that a little bit at the work session, that the timing has a potential to be odd.
Dr. Reeves?
I would like to see us conduct a salary study. I think that this board in general has talked about wanting to, last year we had the goal of allocating discretionary funds for certain types of staff members, and I think this is an extension of that. I'm particularly interested in still considering pursuing merit-based pay at some point and things along those lines. So I think it's important to get this work started. I did have one question, and that is, if, like you just said, it became obvious that it wasn't going to be feasible in the timeline, or we felt it was too expensive and we didn't want to approve that line item, could we come back and revisit the goals and remove this particular goal at that point in time so it doesn't remain as part of the evaluation?
From my perspective, yes, but that may be a procedural question, just as a double check.
It's not really a procedural question.
Okay.
As long as you're comfortable.
a contract question.
Yeah.
I would need to look at his contract and review whether or not there is a provision regarding his goals. So I don't have his most recent contract in front of me.
I'm assuming in theory this sort of addresses Mr. Bostic's comment about how we would have to score it. I guess I'm making an assumption here, but I think that board members would have the discretion to score on that goal however they saw fit, based on if there were circumstantial reasons why the goal didn't get completed, that we could take that into consideration.
That on the evaluation, yes.
Yes.
What I'm not sure about, that I need to double check, is if I believe there is a deadline for the board to set his goals.
There is.
So it seems counterintuitive to me, unless there was an agreement by both parties to then move that goal. While he's working on one goal, now we're going to move the other one. That's the piece of the contract I think would be important to review prior to moving a goal after you've already set one.
Dr. Reeves, to your question, at least from my perspective, as the only employee of this board, if we agreed to remove something because we acknowledge that there was an impossibility, it strikes me that that'd be a reasonable thing to do. Making a change of a goal, after that window, I think would need some more study.
Okay. Well, so that satisfies me, and so I would not be in favor of this amendment because I would like to see us keep the goal.
All right, Ms. Ibma?
Yeah, I agree with Jay and Claire's additional comments, and I'd like to see that the original proposal go forward. But I'd also like, this is the first reading, correct? And I would find
This is a final vote.
Is it? Okay, okay. So, okay, then definitely, I'm still with Jay and Claire on that. So, yeah.
All right. Dr. Johnson?
So, given what I've heard, can I take back my motion?
You can withdraw.
Okay. Because I wasn't sure how the process would work with like us having to approve, and as long as Jason's okay with a goal that we may have to tweak, I would like to withdraw my motion to amend.
Mr. Bostic, do you withdraw your second? All right, thank you. All right, so the amendment's been withdrawn. We're back on the main motion, which is the goals as written in front of us. Any further discussion on the goals?
Mr. Chair, if I may, one other thing that this discussion prompted. I do anticipate, especially in that number one, this may be an ongoing issue. We're going to get information. Our plan is to get information that my professional experience tells me we are not going to be able to solve in 1 year, just as a reminder.
All right, any further discussion? Oh,
Yeah.
can we,
They're all blank. They're all, it's down.
I can ask a question.
can we get Mr. Beasley's mic turned on?
Great.
All right, we're back. Mr. Beasley?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just curious, like, how much did the county spend on their salary assessment?
We've been told it's $40,000. How much was it? 20. Oh, we were told it was 20,000.
Excellent.
Yeah, we'd actually looked at the substance of their work and set it at that minimum 40.
So 20,000, and I believe they have way more employees. Is that correct?
No, we have more.
You have more.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Got it. All right. That's it.
All right. Any further questions or comments? Okay, we will move to a vote on the goals as written.
The vote is 12 yes, 0 no.
All right, thank you. Those goals are approved. Mr. Golden, you have your goals.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, next item is approval of board goals and affirming our strategic plan. Mr. Golden?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you all know, Mr. Brown recommended the board consider these two goals for yourselves. I will tell you that many years, even though it's been in policy, the board has not set goals for itself. Instead, we focused on district goals. And you all may recall that in that discussion back at the September work session, the discussion was related to what was at that time goal number 2, related to corporate support and corporate sponsorship. And we had some discussion that there was some value in, to use an old country phrase, you all participating in beating the bushes. And so that discussion was held. Also, you all had some detailed discussion about making yourself more visible and available in the schools. And I want to specifically thank the board members. Some of you took that to heart already. And so thank you for going out and visiting the schools. So there's the goals for you all to discuss.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I'll just make one comment, which is to say, I know Mr. Golden mentioned that we have not in recent times had board goals. I thought it was important for us to do that, put something on paper that, again, there's not, as we all know, there's not consequences to, if we don't achieve these goals, but always good to put a marker out there. And I think on number 1 in particular, there's a lot of value that we as individual board members can bring in helping Mr. Golden achieve that goal, because it benefits not just him, obviously it benefits the entire district. And then number 2 is simply, giving us something to aim towards in terms of our own visibility and engagement in the schools. So with that, I will see if there are any further questions or comments. Okay, seeing none, we're ready to vote.
The vote is 12 yes, 0 no.
All right, the board goals are approved. And with that, we have completed our agenda. We are adjourned. Thank you.